Great stuff. So I think just for the interest of time, for the audience, Tony and Thomas, let's move on to our final point. Feel free to interrupt me if anyone's got anything else they want to add before we do that. What I want to do now is I want to start looking at some of the technologies that anyone on the audience can start prioritizing. So whether you're a business owner or a sales team manager or a sales professional. So we want to understand what are the best types of technologies you'd recommend maybe to get people started. So we're also going to run a final poll. So I'll get that started now. Again, please input on that, and we'll just start that in 3, 2, 1. So what we want to understand for the final poll is what is the number one? Sorry, no, that's not correct. That's correct. We want to understand what is the number one cause of not having enough qualified pipeline, in your opinion, right? Is it unable to reach buyers, not enough time for prospecting, too much time spent researching prospects, not enough sales resources? Okay, the poll started. So yeah, please complete that. And again, we'll review that at the end of the discussion. Well, I guess, again, in my opinion, and from what I've observed over the last few years in my business, it really depends on your business sales maturity. How do you manage your sales engine? Have you got a fully developed sales and marketing team? Perhaps you start looking at things like CRM automation and HubSpot Professional and Salesforce and all those other things, if you've got those things in place. Or perhaps, you don't have a sales team, or maybe you have a sales team, and how big is that sales team? And does your company have a lead management process within your sales engine? You might want to consider marketing tools such as LinkedIn Navigator and Trigger, as we've been mentioning throughout the call, right? It really depends on the evolution of where you are and the type of business and what you're looking to achieve. Marketing framework, do you have a full-time marketing person? Is it part-time? Is it outsourced? Maybe you don't have one at all. Maybe you've got to look at tools such as Marketo and HubSpot Marketing, right? It really depends. I mean, and for me personally, I don't have a sales team. I'm kind of a one-man band when you look at my organization, but I have 10 to 15 staff that represent many clients from all over the globe, but they're not part of my, I guess, in-depth MatCam prospecting sales team. But I still needed to take the plunge and invest in my own automation to help improve my client experiences and help me to reach potential buyers. I'm very busy, like Tony. We just don't have time to grow our businesses. So it's really important. The more that we can automate, the better that we have at focusing on the entrepreneurial part of the business and actually growing the organization and attracting better clients, right? So my next question I'd like to ask is to Tony to start with. What are the other types of sales activities and processes that can be automated outside of what we've discussed so far? Or to Thomas as well, either one of you.
Yeah, if you're a business owner here, first thing I really encourage you to think about is the web to lead process. Mm-hmm. We know that response times matter massively, right? It's hugely important that you respond quickly to any lead that comes in. So we definitely want to adopt this attraction marketing, this content marketing approach. Mm-hmm. What do people look for before they'd ever know to look for us? Rather than doing the lazy thing of spending a fortune on AdWords, mm-hmm. right? Optimize for the content, that is relevant to people. Mm-hmm. And if they fill in a form, make sure you get that from the website into your CRM that triggers someone following up. So if you've got a bigger team, even think about the way you can allocate leads based on availability, right? Rather than I went to this person, but they took 4 days to respond, right? Mm-hmm. So your chances of engagement just fall off a cliff the longer you take. So automate web to lead, think about attraction marketing. The other thing is, I was having a great conversation with Peter Strokorb, who's on this call. Peter's an absolute expert in marketing and bringing sales and marketing together. But we were talking about how do you avoid wasting time? Because I think someone else has said in here, what about all of these leads that come through that aren't really leads at all? They're just a waste of time for the salesperson. So how do you get the prospect to self-qualify themselves? We're all in different sales environments, and there's smart ways of doing that. So maybe even talk to Peter if you've got questions about that later. So the first thing is the web to lead process, automate that. The other thing I'd say automate is you want to automate the time wasting activity of research of salespeople. They just waste so much time doing ineffective research. And that's the power of a platform like Trigger, because it gives you attributes about the organizations that you're targeting. It gives you the phone numbers, the email addresses, the trigger events that have gone on, the roles they're hiring for, where they got most of their staff from, from other organizations in the marketplace. Tools like Sales Navigator are also great as well. You can see what roles they're typically hiring in. People expect us to show them that we know them when we spring from the bushes in this brand new conversation. If we can talk the language of leaders and show that we're relevant, show them that we know them, then we'll drive engagement. So give sellers back time in their day by automating the research piece, and serve them lists of people that they should be targeting based on highest propensity to buy. And the last thing I'll say is, rather than think about brand new whiz-bang technologies, also think about, how do I use the things I've got properly? Most sellers I talk to, if they've got Navigator, they have no idea how to use the wizard properly to build a Boolean safe search that they can run regularly that'll help them sell. Most sellers don't know how to configure a simple dashboard for themselves in their own CRM, right? So use the basic tools you've got well, and then add something like Trigger that can give you opportunity funnel and give you time back in the research phase and give you the dialing information.
Great point. Thomas, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just in terms of the time that reps are spending researching, because it is a big part of where Trigger fits into the whole picture.
Yeah,
we're constantly trying to surface the intelligence that's relevant.
Okay.
It's not at the incompetence of the rep that they're spending so much time researching. I would say that many times it is the scenario that they're afraid to actually make the call, so it's becoming a bit of an excuse. But the other reason is the expectations of the buyer are much higher now, and the rep knows that they need to actually have some insight or something that they can hook relevance to when they're reaching out, and that is a reality. So it's a combination of both the fact that researching feels safe, and so they're not picking up the phone. They're doing what they need to do. They do have to have that research done, though. They have to have that insight. So that's really where Trigger fits into that picture. It's the research is done for you, and that way there's a bit more self-accountability for the rep. They know exactly what they need to say when they're reaching out.
Well, I have to agree, Thomas. And Tony, to your point, responding quickly to leads, you've got to respond in a timely manner, or they go bad. And yes, there's plenty of leads out there. We usually, as my organisation, one of the biggest things that we do is we take old leads that the BDRs don't call, and we call through the rubbish, the student inquiries, and we find the gold nuggets, because the BDRs just don't have time to call them. The reality is there are gold nuggets there, and regardless of whether someone thinks a lead is not strong or the leads are weak or whatever it may be, you've got to spend the time calling through those leads. And we can automate that process to have better quality leads. And to your point, Thomas, sales reps, I think more sales reps are becoming increasingly more scared to make calls as well, right? So I know it's very, very interesting. We've got some questions coming in. So the results of the poll we'll go through shortly. Peter, you made a very good point here. The hardest part of sales cycle today is no longer to close a deal, but to gain traction and engagement with the right prospects in the first place. Peter Strokel, or I guess put another way, while it is now easier to reach your ideal customers, it has become very difficult to draw them into a meaningful sales conversation. I have to agree with you 100%. That is becoming increasingly challenging. Really agree with that point. And we have another note. Once you have a meeting and the CEO says, leave it with us, what is the ethical time to leave them to think on it? We all receive that. Oh, we'll come back to you. Leave it with us. Or can we schedule an appointment? Can we do a follow-up? Oh, we'll come back to you with a call. I think that comes down to qualification at the very beginning, in my opinion. Thomas, Tony, what are your thoughts?
Without doubt, opening is the most difficult and the most important phase of selling.
Agreed.
Most people that say they have a problem with closing, they don't really have a problem with closing. They have a problem with opening and creating good progression. If you don't anchor the commercial value, in essence, the business case for change right up front, you'll be dealing endlessly with people who have interest that never converts into them actually driving change or purchasing. So the way we open around the commercial value of change, how this leader can drive improved results for the organization and for them in their role, if you're not solving a serious problem or helping them realize a significant opportunity, there's not going to be much money. It'll just lose its way. Because at the end of the day, when a mid-level person pushes up to their manager a request to do something, the manager goes, do you know what? I've got 17 things on my desk. We've only got limited time and resources in the organization. We can't do them all. Why should this be a priority? And if the seller doesn't help their own person, or if they don't have clarity themselves on how to do that, then they're in trouble right out of the gate. The other reason that the opening phase is so difficult is none of the people we're seeking to get to that do not yet know us, none of them are lonely and bored and looking for another friend in business. None of them want a seller in their life. Like, they just don't, right? They typically want more value from fewer suppliers. So we need to create progression, right? If a CEO is saying, leave it with me, well, that's not progression. So we need to say to them, hey, what would you like us to do together to progress this? Right? What would you like us to do together to progress this? Right? Who else do I need to meet within your team?
Yeah.
What other data do you need? What are you going to put in a business case for the board? I'm just conscious of getting close on time too, so I'll stop talking.
No, that's great, Tony. Really appreciate your insights. I got a question coming. I thought that was quite funny. Your wall clock has not moved since the start. I'm in a frozen time loop, David Gill. That's a great.
I was thinking the same thing, David.
Yeah, I'm in a time loop. I'm sure it'll come off the second this session's finished. Great stuff. Look, well, in the interest of time, Tony, let's wrap up. Really appreciate your time, Tony. And Thomas, really happy to have you on the show today. Super happy. And just before we wrap up, I'm going to share the slides again. There's a couple of things I want to cover. Just do
and
that.
Matt, Matt, just while you're doing that, I just encourage people to get Tech-Powered Sales, the new book. There's a whole section in there that explains the whole trigger event thing and how to make it work for you, all of the tech stack and the things you can do. Thanks, Matt.
I agree with Tony. I've started reading the book. I'm about halfway through, and I have to admit, it's one of the best books I've ever read so far. So yeah, highly recommend you get it as well. Great stuff. And look, just to wrap up, I'll be reaching out to you individually for a free copy of my book, just for the 21st attendees. So I'll reach out to you shortly on that. Look, I guess for the lasting couple of minutes, if there's any questions anyone wants to add, throw them away. But if you want to reach out to any of us today, I've placed the email addresses here. Myself, Matthew at cowanprospecting.com, Thomas Tamoyne at trigger.ai, or Tony at rsvpselling.com. For anything trigger related, I've reached out to Thomas. He's an absolute expert in that field, and also Tony as well. It's a great tool. I'd highly recommend everyone to use it. And yeah, look, to wrap up the session again, thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much, Thomas. Really appreciate having you guys here. Very insightful discussion today. Learned a lot, and I hope the audience feel the same way. And there will be a recording of this session, so I will pass it over to everyone at the end of this as well.
Yeah, I love this session. It was a great time. Thanks, Matt.
No worries.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Tom.